And welcome back to another episode of Loss of Down, brought to you by Tabbies.com, the premier Delta 8 edible on the market, TABEASE.com. Make sure you use promo code football for 20% off that order, my God, as well as free shipping. Boys, we got NBA playoffs. We got the hockey playoffs. We got off-season workouts for the NFL starting. But most importantly, we have Dan Snyder selling the team, and Jalen Hurts getting the bag. But before we get into that, boys, how was your weekend? Hope you got to enjoy it. Filled with sports for your boy right here.
I'll be first. I have a few things to say. One, I apologize ahead of time because I'm going to sound like shit this episode. I am battling something right now that I've been battling for a week. Last week, my voice was gone. I thought it was because I screamed too much the weekend before, and it turned out I'm just getting sick, and I'm a big baby when I get sick. I have been just moping. I am like down, dude. This is killing me right now. It's one of those weird ones too where it's like struggling to breathe. The heart rate's constantly racing. You're hot. You got the sweats. I just battling the elements right now. So this is the podcaster version of Wally's flu game. And unlike Jordan, I won't be able to perform at that level. So I apologize. But a couple other things. One, big week for the if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes. No one gets weather like us crowd because everybody across the country has gone from like 80 degrees to 40, 45, and everybody thinks that they're unique to them. Weather only happens to them. Steven, you know especially how much that gets under my skin. I've been seeing it on Twitter, and it's been from all over. It pisses me off. It's so stupid. Shut the fuck up. Otherwise,
I love how Wally's not sick enough to just take jabs at the one thing that gets under his skin. But to put in perspective how sick Wally is, it's one of those where I texted him a couple days ago and I was like, hey, man, like, I saw this video, giving a suggestion for the podcast. He's like, cool, I'll look into it in a few days. I'm like, oh, this man's really down. It's one of those you're like, maybe early next week I'll get back to you on this.
Yeah, I feel bad. A lot of my really good friends are good listeners too, and you guys would have both felt the effects too. People texting me, I'm usually a pretty good responder. I'm like, just looking at it, I'm like, all right, cool, that sounds like something I can deal with later. I am struggling, like I am not, I'm getting things that, like sports related. I'll get people texting. The only thing that's really gotten me going right now is the NHL starting tonight, and I'm all excited. I'm really, really fired up. I know that I'm a hockey fan versus you two, so this is a little different. But for me, I love March Madness. March Madness is one of the best spectacles in sports. I would prefer first round NHL personally, just because I think that from a professional level, it's as close as you get to the constant madness. There's just nonstop hockey, 6-7 straight hours each night for the next 2 weeks. And I mean, this is a league that saw an 8 seed win the Stanley Cup less than a decade ago. So it's worth getting in, and there's always good value for the people out there that like to gamble. But again, I know I've been rambling here to start, but one last thing, and I will throw it over to you guys. I promise we'll get going, is that we have our mock draft special that we will be airing next week in lead up to the NFL draft. It'll be one of our bigger production kind of things we've done so far together. So it'll be a lot of fun. I know a lot of you listeners are going to be participating in that as well. But make sure you give it a look. Make sure you give it a retweet. Make sure you do all that fun stuff to help us out. And again, hopefully we'll be able to do more things like this in the future. So, but that kind of engagement's what helps us do that. So please, you know what to do. Especially if you're a part of it. You want your friends to see that you're doing it too. Make sure you share it out next week. But boys, that's enough from me. How are you guys doing? David, I know you went to the Cavs game 1 with, I believe, your two favorite teams. You liked Carmelo Anthony, so I'm sure you still have a soft spot for the Knicks. But what was that like? It was a hell of a game. And I'm quietly going to just say I turned the TV on when it was 93-92.
Oh, with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left? Yeah.
Well, I was looking at the game cast, and I'm like, well, yeah.
Because I remember, because they called a timeout after we went up by 1. It was like, that's ingrained in my memory.
Yeah, well, that was the reason, because I'd been looking at it on my phone. I hadn't been able to really muster the ability to watch TV at that point. And I'm like, oh, they're coming back. It's a 6-point game. It's a 4-point game. It's a 2-point game. All of a sudden, the Cavs were up. I turned the TV on, and I'm going to probably have to just shoulder a little bit of the mush abilities because I feel like I just directly did that. So I'll make sure I be letting them know, as the Cavs fans out there would say, starting game 2. I'll be quiet and distant.
No, I mean, that Cavs game was incredible. Even though we were down a majority of the evening, the defensive push in the fourth quarter that got us to like 93, 92 or 94, 93, whatever it was like that. Experiencing that defensive push was incredible because it felt like we were going to win the game like that. We got like 3 consecutive steals or stops and, transitioned into points, and suddenly we were back to being up by a point. But the story of that game, and I wanted to scream at like multiple points in that game, and not for the Cavs, but at the Cavs, because I think Mobley missed like 4 extremely easy buckets within 2 feet of the rim. Ricky Rubio missed a finger roll layup, should have been automatic. LeVert missed a layup. I think Garland missed a layup at one point. There were so many missed easy opportunity baskets. And then you combine those with giving up a boatload of second chance points to the Knicks. And, like, it felt like that
Hey, David, I don't know why your audio just went really bad there.
game. What
It
about
sounds
now?
a little better when you grunted.
It sounds
You're
fine
good.
now. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I kind of heard the in and out too. Anyways, where was I when that went bad?
We were talking about 118 missed layups.
Oh, so I don't know how to transition back into that.
Oh, don't even worry about it. This is staying in. So I'll just ask you
Perfect.
this.
So, let's put
Do
it
the
this way.
Cavs win this series still?
I think they can, but I thought this was going to be Cavs in 5. I'm thinking Cavs in 7. The Knicks are a scrappy team, and I thought we'd deal with them better. But again, if we make our layups in game 1, we probably win the game, and I have a different tune. It's just kind of like, I think we let the moment get to us, but I do think the Cavs win the series. I just think it goes a little bit further than I thought it would.
I don't even think you needed the layups to win the game. You gave up 2 offensive rebounds in the final 30 seconds. That was the backbreaker.
It's so annoying.
I was waiting
did
for
it all
you.
game long. It was all game long. We gave up, and it wasn't like it's like we didn't box out the perimeter. It was the guy. It wasn't usually whoever their center is. I'm gonna blank out on his name while we're on the podcast.
David
Julius
Robinson?
Randle?
No, Robinson.
It was
Mitchell Robinson.
It was Julius Randle was hanging out on the perimeter, and he would just crash the boards. It's like we didn't box him out. And then you had like the other guys that were getting these like tip rebounds, and it was because we didn't box him out on the perimeter. It's like, get in front of a guy, box him out, get a rebound, and then worry about the transition. Like,
There you go. Throw some cheeks on the hip. Get in there.
Yeah, like it's just so frustrating.
No, and
Well, Steven, first of all, before we get into, because I'm going to ask you guys for your Eastern Conference Final, Western Conference Finals, and champion. But first, Steven, how are you doing? How is your world? Because we haven't really got to hear much from you yet.
yeah, my world is good. Had a very nice weekend. I believe I got to golf. Had the day off Friday. Got to golf. Got to celebrate the anniversary with the beautiful girlfriend. Shout out Kylie. Give her that. We're on the Brett Favre year. We're on the Brett Favre year, except we're not. No robbery of
The Derek Carr year.
low income. Ooh, Derek Carr. I like that. Okay, maybe.
I had to switch it up.
Or we're talking about the Cavs and my boy Deion Waiters, number 4 pick, Deion Waiters, the Deion year, coming off the bench. No, but all in all, it was good. Had a good gambling day yesterday. I'm on the up and up. So Shohei Ohtani, they really screwed me today with the rain out. But shout out to DraftKings as well as FanDuel refunding those pitcher prop bets, as well as if Shohei Ohtani was the leg that caused you to lose the same game parlay, they're going to refund the money right back to you.
Oh, well, yeah, because it was the Boston Marathon. They start at like 10 or 11 in the morning. It's a really big deal in Boston.
Shout out, your boy Chara was running it. Did you see the video?
Yeah, can you imagine being 14 miles into a marathon, gasping for air, hating your life, and then you turn behind you, and there's a 6'8" goon trucking up behind you, built like a semi. Like, I'd be running faster. I'd probably finish the damn marathon if I looked behind me and saw Chara coming.
Yeah, he is scary, but good for him. I mean, for as long as that he's been in the game, for him to continually just put it out there, Boston Marathon, repping up his city, the place he played in so long, you gotta love it.
Talk about like the ability to read minds here. The Chara jersey's out. My dad always is really nice, so I'm surprising him.
Wait, is he Polish?
Chara, no, he's Czech.
I was like, your dad talking about? I didn't know if he was one. I didn't know if he was a former Polak.
Well, no, but my dad's a diehard Bruins fan, and he's always really great on like the rare occasion once every 8 years the Raiders play a game that matters. He'll surprise me, and he'll be wearing a Raiders jersey for the game. So I'm going to go down and surprise him and throw the Chara. It's going to be about, 12 inches too small. So it's going to look like what fat guy in a little coat, Tommy Boy version. But
I wouldn't say that. I would go with Zeke. You're going to look like Zeke.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, it'll even have the belly button showing too. So I hope you guys are ready for the crop top.
Oh God, all of us with belly buttons. We gotta get a belly button ring bet going on this year.
I'll get it rolled out right now. Get prepared for everybody.
Hey, whoa! If you want to see the rest of this, make sure to go to our
free clicks.
Make sure to go to our OnlyFans /Loss of Down. With that, speaking of the OnlyFans, I feel like that's a great segue. Dan Snyder, the NFL news, he is officially selling the Washington Commanders at a price that's going up to $6 billion. We're hearing about $7 billion, but just about an hour ago, the NFL has officially gotten a hold of the contract. They're reviewing everything. Now, there's only two ways this is going to be: if they're going to alter it, or if they're going to have the signatures and the sale is going to be legit. But Dan Snyder is finally out of Washington, and we're getting a new owner. How are we feeling, boys? I'll toss it over to you first, David.
Look, I find it hilarious that I still don't know who's buying the Commanders for sure. Like, instability is the core tenet of the Dan Snyder era, and it's only fitting that after agreeing in verbally agreeing to a $6 billion sale to the Josh Harris group, who, for those of you who don't know, owns the 76ers and a bunch of other stuff, that suddenly it's rumored that he reneged and, he's going to sell to Duke teammates Brian Davis and Christian Laettner for $7 billion, which includes $1 billion on the day he agrees and $6 billion to be financed later or something like that.
Well, not to cut you off, and I'm sorry to do so, but we got, right before we started recording,
did we get confirmation?
Schefter made it sound like they're moving forward with it, that it was basically too far in the process. Not to mention there's been players like Sean Merriman on Twitter today who have been bashing the new group, saying that you still owe players money. There's no way you have the money. So it sounds like they're going forward with the Josh Harris group. All it needs now is the other owner's approval, which we all know how badly they want Dan Snyder out. So it sounds like this is as close to done as it can be now.
Fair enough, but also the fact, all the things you just said make me think that that's why he's going to sell to Brian Davis and co. Anyways, who cares who he sells to be honest? It's just time for him to disappear. And you just know that the owners forced him out instead of airing out his dirty laundry after their little investigation. Their little investigation literally got John Gruden blacklisted and sent the Raiders into another demise. No offense, Wally. But
I'm used to it. It's fine.
I got to be honest. $6 billion for this team seems pretty steep. I know valuations are just valuations for teams, but like $6 billion for a team where you're going to go in and you got to spend another $2 to $3 billion on stadium renovations or moving it, and you're not going to get political support for that in Washington D.C. So like that's what you're going to have to spend. I don't know. I just like it feels like a stupid buy for anyone that's buying it from Dan Snyder for that price.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be wrong, I don't know the DMV area very well. Steven, you might have a better idea. I feel like, no, not
Maybe,
really.
Depending what the question is.
Well, I was going to say that I know it's a pretty healthy trek from Washington, D.C. I don't know if that's a land issue or if maybe it's in another county so that they can get taxpayers to pay for it. I'm not sure how that works in the past. But you're right.
Well, they can't
FedEx
play in
abysmal.
DC like the Wizards
Yeah.
and
They play in
Caps
Hanover,
do.
Maryland.
Yeah, like you're playing in a whole nother city, and you're not going to find land anywhere. I mean, land in a townhouse in DC goes for like $1.5 million. You're not finding land anywhere for. You'd have to overpay for already overpriced land to buy out and build a stadium somewhere in, or even remotely super close to DC. So it's just not going to happen unless they move to maybe Virginia. But even then, you're still a hike away from the stadium for most people that live there. I think they're committed to play in that stadium until like 2028 or something. They're committed for a while. So your best bet is stadium renovations if you're coming in as a new owner, and just slowly updating as you go every single year instead of doing, one humongous stadium renovation. You're probably better off just upgrading, the absolute necessities first year, and then upgrading your suites the second year, and then upgrading your concessions the third year, and then go at it slowly. But they're not going to get support from the city for doing that. So whoever buys the team, and if it is Josh Harris group, great. But like, you're buying for $6 million and then spending another, or $6 billion, and then probably spending another $1 to $3 billion on renovations.
See, I don't know how. I'm not going to pretend like I know how this stuff goes, but Dan Snyder, it's amazing after all the terrible things he's done. The biggest thing for him, for other owners, was he hasn't been able to get a new stadium. So I think that it's going to be a priority for this Josh Harris group to get it done. I don't know how that'll work. I don't know if that means the DC Defenders play in Audi Field, and that has a capacity of 20,000. It's even smaller than SoFi was in LA when they were making a stadium. But we saw how important that was for Stan Kroenke, and it boosted team evaluation up so much. So if it means even 3, 4, 5 years that they're playing at a small location, I think that they'd probably be thrilled to do it. It's just a matter of if it's possible.
Maybe, but how much are you going to spend? If you're going to spend that money to do all the renovations at once, play elsewhere, why not move the team? At that point, why not move it somewhere else?
Credit for me for not mentioning that reservation would have applied more a few years ago with the old team name. Good for me. Other thing, I will say though, this has got to be, if you're a Washington fan, the best day in decades. The only other day I was thinking of last week when I told you guys that is when they did bring Joe Gibbs back for a second tenure, given how important he was the first time. And then that didn't go well. But let me just read you a few things here of the Dan Snyder regime and how it went. 164 and 220. 6 seasons above 500 out of 24. They went 2-6 in the playoffs. No win since 2006, a Joe Gibbs-led team, ironically enough. Disrespectful to Sean Taylor on multiple fronts since his death. Having that stupid sideline painted thing, acting like that was a big deal, and then having a mannequin be his statue that you
Oh man, I totally forgot about that.
It just was so perfect because how dysfunctional they are. Dragging his feet on changing the name of the Redskins. Worst football field in the NFL now, and I don't think it's close. Soldier Field, maybe, and before Oakland moved, you could make a case. Maybe. Toxic culture for women, we found out in the lawsuit. Targeting other owners, to your point, David, including the John Gruden scandal. That was because of him. And stealing last year money from other owners. This has all happened in the last 25 years with this guy. It's the worst owner I can remember in professional North American sports. And a stain on the NFL is at least going to go away. There's a lot of problems with owners across the NFL, but this is a minor step. It's a minor victory, and I couldn't be more fired up for Washington fans. It's a new day, finally.
What's what sticks out to me is during this is the 164 and 220. There was talent on the roster, on the coaching staff during Dan Snyder's tenure. If you go back and remember, what was it last year before, everyone in the playoffs, that there was 4 or 5 head coaches in the playoffs last year that were at one point on the same staff in Washington under Jay Gruden. If that was going to be, we got Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniels, Sean McVay, and there's one Mike LaFleur. He's not a head coach, but he is a offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. And I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Maybe Saleh was floating around in there, or maybe one guy was really low on the totem pole. But that was there.
I mean, you already named 5 quality head coaches. So
yeah,
to give you an idea how bad
that's the characteristic of dysfunction, though, because the Browns have a season where Kyle Shanahan was OC, Mike McDaniels was quarterback coach. Like
the play
that
with
was
Johnny
Manziel.
Right? I remember that.
There
picture.
was a period where if you take the offensive coaching staff and you just insert them into head coach, offensive coordinator, and whatever else, you'd have won a million games according to the world. But it's the characteristic of dysfunction to have an amazing coaching staff and it's right in front of you and you can't see it.
And remember the whole RG3, and then they also drafted Kirk Cousins. They ran 2 quarterbacks that could potentially have been franchise.
That was an all-time
cornerstone
draft, by the way.
Yeah, I was. So
that's an all-time. First round, you get RG3, and then you run him into literally a career-ending injury, and then you go get Kirk Cousins in the 3rd round or 4th round or whatever. And
yeah, I think it was the 4th, but still.
Are they 2? I thought Kirk had a playoff win with Washington. Was that just like a?
I think it was just an appearance.
The comeback, I know for sure an appearance. Was it just a comeback win to get in the playoffs when he was getting quoted? You like that?
Probably. Yeah, that was definitely regular season. That was a December win. I can remember that vividly.
Okay, so playoff implications, that's probably why I got it confused. But, I mean, they haven't been back to the playoffs since Kirk Cousins. Or maybe 1 year. Oh, 2 years ago.
Divisional round. Yeah, I mean, I want to say the last time they were past the divisional round, it was 1993. And even then, it might have just been to the divisional round.
Put that in perspective. We were still shitting in our hands and rubbing it in our face, people.
Yeah, maybe. I was going to say, some of us, I don't know, David, I can't remember. Are you a 94, baby, or are you 93 as well?
94.
Yeah, so this kid wasn't even around.
He was just punching himself in the face. In the belly.
Yeah, he was punching Mama Claben in the belly. Yeah, exactly.
Buddy, you can't see it on screen, but I got a scar right here from scratching myself in the face while I was in the incubator.
Dude, we need to get that Eric Andre meme in there. Get me out!
Well, let's go on. There's been a lot of smoke around the Houston Texans' number 2 overall pick. It sounds like it's turning into a source-off between Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, where Schefter's saying that there's a real belief around the league that the Texans are not going to take a quarterback number 2. Rappaport believes that they will. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is something that we're going to look back on where it wasn't quarterback at the top of the draft?
I'll be honest with you. Until this news, I thought everyone was comfortable with the Texans selecting Will Anderson with the 2nd overall pick. And I think drafting a franchise quarterback is a priority, but I think there's a blueprint that's been clearly handed out over the last decade that's, don't draft your quarterback before you have any kind of talent on the roster because, as the Texans learned,
go Canes.
You could turn him into
goal.
You could turn him into David Carr.
My boy Sebastian Aho, literally the only Cane I know. Sorry, David.
Yeah, sorry, David. It's NHL hockey time. Sorry, my brain's broke.
Your brain's been broken. Anyways, but in all fairness, the worst thing you do is draft one of these guys who's not like Andrew Luck, who's not like some of these guys who you knew day one they were going to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Like I'm not there with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. I'm not saying they're not going to be good. I think they'll be good, but I'm not like it's not a for sure you're getting the guy like it has been for some of the guys in the past. So if I'm the Texans, I think it's smarter to draft the guy on a defensive line and spend the rest of your draft building out pieces that make your team better without affecting the win column, because you want to lose more again next year so that you can come back around and draft your quarterback, draft a receiver, draft a running back, and build out your offense. And suddenly you've got a really good young team on rookie contracts, and you can go out in free agency and fill the holes with guys that are good enough. And now you've got a winning team, right? The blueprint's been there. The Raiders did it. The Browns did it. I'm not saying they did it successfully long term, but the blueprint's, it's there. And if you build your team appropriately, you can hold on long term.
Now, my only, I guess, not necessarily even pushback, but Will Anderson is also a little different too, because he's kind of perceived as a sure thing, but not necessarily at that star level that we're used to seeing guys like this at the top of the draft. Lance Zierlein, he compared him to DeMarcus Ware, which would be an amazing, you would be thrilled to take that. But it almost reminds me more of another Texan back in the day, Mario Edwards, where he was just a solid pro. He wasn't necessarily great, but when you're trying to rebuild, is that, I guess, would you be okay with that, saying, hey, we get a very solid piece here at the top instead of taking a gamble that can even further push us
So
down?
the way that I'm looking at it, and I took it from David, right? I think there's two things that go into it. D'Amico Ryans has PTSD from the whole Trey Lance saga here a couple of years ago, right? But the dude also knows how to win with a non-top 15 quarterback, right? But are you willing to take the chance that you're going to get a quarterback that could end up being the next best thing since sliced bread or Patrick Mahomes, or they could just be slightly better than Davis Mills? And yeah, Davis Mills isn't going to be the guy you're going to ride with, but then you're going to have two two quarterbacks on the rookie deal, one significantly cheaper than the other. But Davis Mills, yeah, the whole point, if you're putting Davis in to lose, cool, you'll get another top 3 pick, and guess what? Caleb Williams is sitting up there. Maybe if you end up getting number 1, because that's apparently the guy everyone wants to go for.
Well, don't forget Drake May either. He's enough. This is going to be, like, next year we're talking
Hold on, was that a piece of
2024.
paper you just
It's
sneezed
going
on?
to be...
Paper towel.
Okay.
My
I
allergies
love
just
that
fired. The cat jumped up on the desk, and my allergies just fired up. And now I'm sneezing, and my eyes itching, and I look like a fucking crackhead over here. But it's fine.
Tyrone Bigham's over there. But yeah, like to the point of all the pieces that they have, they've got Michi that's going to hopefully come back. We haven't really gotten too many updates about what his cancer treatment's looking like and how he is. But I like what they did with Dameon Pierce. They just signed the best left tackle in football. Maybe go bolster another side. Or to your point, let's go build the line on the defensive side of the front. Right? I honestly couldn't name you anyone on the front 7. The only person I can name you is Stingley Jr., and I can barely name that dude right. So they have some young stars. Just build around. Give pieces that D'Amico can turn into stars. AKA, it's going to be, it's going to be an edge rusher. Look what he's done. That whole D-line, let alone edge rushers. And yes, Robert Saleh and other people have to do with it. But he didn't skip a beat those last 2 years.
Now, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think you just unlocked it. I think Derek Stingley was the 3rd pick, and Amon Gardner, or Sauce Gardner, was the 4th. And that just kind of really kind of sums up what the Texans are and what they've been. It's just like right idea, not the right execution. And I know that they would trade Stingley Jr. in a split second if you knew that you were going to get Sauce Gardner. I cannot believe they
skipped on him. That was wild.
I might have to double check.
No, they did. You're right.
There's a chance that I'm... Okay, I wasn't sure if I flip-flopped.
They had Aiden Hutchinson, Trevon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, Stingley, Sauce. 5 was... Okay. Who was 5?
Oh, gosh, now you're putting me on the spot.
Again, it is wild that we do this, and the second football season's done, out.
It's hard to remember the actual number for me, unless there's an ingrained number or thought. Obviously, if you know the team, it would be different. But before we move on, because I kind of have a thought on this one here, and I've waffled on it a lot. To me, it feels a lot like a smokescreen, because that teams like the Titans, the Raiders, the Colts, and many others have been talking with teams like the Cardinals to move up. And if you truly want Will Anderson Jr., to me, it's very simple. You do everything you can to call Indianapolis and work a trade out at 4, because number 3 is going, Arizona's not picking 3. They're going to move out, whether that's on draft day, whether that's before draft day. It's going to go to a quarterback hungry team. And if you trade with Indianapolis, then Colts are going to be able to go up and get their quarterback at 2. Whoever moves into 3 is going to go up and get their quarterback. And you still get Will Anderson at 4, except now it's a cheaper compensation for your draft pick. And I think that they really want Bryce Young, and that they're almost willing Carolina not to take Bryce Young and go with C.J. Stroud instead. But it's kind of just like a game of chicken right now in the league. Well, that's a whole different story,
because apparently the story is Bryce Young has canceled all the rest of his meetings with every other team that isn't the number 1 pick. So there's a lot of speculation that he's actually going to end up in Carolina. C.J. is going to drop to number 2, whoever the team that's picking next in that position if they trade for it, if it ends up being Houston that pulls the trigger on it.
Yeah, and that is a report out there right now. Mortensen for ESPN has been on Bryce Young to Carolina well before it was cool here in the last week or so. Before that, it had been kind of penciled in that C.J. Stroud was the number 1 pick. And this is what happens every year with the NFL draft. And I implore the people at home, take everything you're seeing right now with a grain of salt, because this is the time of year where teams are trying to move up. They're trying to maximize value. I mean, Carolina, it really doesn't make much sense to, I guess, announce your pick right now, but they know who they're doing. And you'd imagine there's a pretty good indication if you're in C.J. Stroud's camp, if you're in Bryce Young's camp, you know where it's going to be right now. And again, the draft to me is going to start at 2. Because Carolina knows what they're doing. And then after that, it's how's everything going to play out? Are people moving up? Are we actually going to see the Cardinals in Texans draft 2-3? I would very much doubt the Cardinals. But it's that time of year. This is awesome.
Well, let's go talk about a quarterback we have no questions on. That man, Jalen Hurts, gets the bag today, signing a 5-year, $255 million extension. That's $51 million per year. Becoming the highest paid NFL player, my God, it's Monday, in history. Now, this is also going to include 179, just a hair under 180 mil in incentives guarantees, but this is also including the first no-trade clause given to a Philadelphia Eagles player in their history, which is wild. Let me get my 2 cents in here, boys. Let me guys and I can let you guys take it away. Great job by Philadelphia. You're seeing what teams are doing, like Lamar, really just the Ravens, are doing, kind of spinning their wheels on here. This guy just took you to the NFC Championship game, just took you to the Super Bowl, and you got ahead of this. Not only does this deal look good now, it's going to look beautiful next year, the year after, and each year after that. You still have 1 year on this rookie deal. Now you got 5 more. That's going to bring him to the end of the, 2028 season. A couple fun stats for Jalen Hurts. Shout out to him getting the bag. 1 of 9 quarterbacks since 80 to win 17-plus games in a 18 start span. Montana, Marino, McNabb, Brady, Peyton, Big Ben, Mahomes, and Cam Newton. But he's also the first quarterback in NFL history to have 10-plus rushing touchdowns while also posting a better 100% or better, 100 or better passer rating. My God. Sorry I had to stumble through that, boys. But good for Jalen.
Oh, it's awesome for Jalen. And I think that it's very easy to say that he's one of the more likable NFL superstars we've seen in a long time, going all the way back to 2017. To see him get benched in the national championship game and not pout a lot. I mean, that is, first of all, that's incredible in its own right, because you know how athletes today are, where it's very difficult to imagine getting pulled on the biggest stage at that point in your career, something you've always dreamed of doing, and then having to transfer out, reestablish yourself in Oklahoma, become a Heisman winner there, go to the playoff, then get drafted in a second round, have everybody laugh at that pick, say they have Carson Wentz. What are we doing here? And now 5 years later, or not even, 3 years later, he looks like a top 5-ish quarterback in the NFL. What was tricky on this, and it sucks if you're Philadelphia, is that you didn't take him at the end of the first round. You don't have that 5th-year option. I told you guys earlier that I had to take this spout out, but it was because I screwed up and didn't realize that he was actually finished his 3rd year of his 4-year rookie deal. So if you're Howie Roseman, you had to make this deal. Obviously, you'd like to have one more year, an evaluation period to see if this is
But did you want to, and didn't mean to cut you off, did you want to take that risk? And I know David's going to come in hot with Lamar.
If you had the 5th year, that's what I'm saying. If you had the 5th year, you
I know.
Well,
I know.
You're absolutely right. If you had the 5th year, the 4th year would have been great. But, you got to rely on the fact that he's gotten tremendously better every year he's been in the NFL. Like, I was a Jalen Hurts doubter at the beginning of the season, and, he stepped up to the plate big time. But you just got to hope that he continues to play as he played last year because, to your point, Wally is a fringe top 5 quarterback, if not a top 5 quarterback, if he's going to play as well on the ground and through the air going forward. But, the worst thing that could happen to the Eagles was he played as good as he did last year, this year, and suddenly you're going to owe this guy $60 million per season fully guaranteed because he's proven he's that guy. Now, that might have been a little exaggeration, but also shout out to Howie Roseman for giving the absolute fist to Lamar Jackson, who turned down $175 million guaranteed earlier this season. And now what you've told me is, well, I gotta be honest, Lamar. You're not Jalen Hurts. You can't throw the football nearly as well. So
or win in the postseason.
Let's give you $150 million guaranteed, and I'll give you $250 if you can pass for a 100 passer rating like Jalen Hurts. I'll give you your money if you can actually perform in the pass. But I think Lamar Jackson actually lost money because of this contract.
Absolutely.
And like what the Ravens get, to all those who don't know, what the Ravens offered him that he denied earlier this season was at face value like $140 million guaranteed. Then if he got hurt, it increased to $175 million guaranteed. And then if he was on the roster 3 years from now, it was $200 million guaranteed, right? So, there were some guaranteed kickers in there, but at the end of the day, you turned down a contract that was arguably as good as this one, and if not even better, because if you get hurt, you actually get paid more. And I think he actually lost money from this.
Well, how's he going to make the argument that he can get money that is similar or more than Jalen Hurts? This is a dude fresh off. He never won. Well, I won an MVP. Cool. What have you done since then? Because this dude has won a playoff game and taken this team to the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game, and the Super Bowl. Have you even sniffed the divisional round, or that's when you lost because you had the bye? Good job, you had the bye. The big thing about the bye is you get 1 week off to make the run that you haven't been able to do. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Because you haven't been on the field the last 6 games back-to-back years. He is screwed. Him and Odell, man.
And he needs to get an agent now. You are no longer negotiating it, for yourself anymore. Get an agent, pay the agent, and get a better contract, and put all this shit behind you.
Time to hit up Drew Rosenhaus, bud.
I hope you guys are ready for this. I'm putting on my Lamar Jackson cape here for a second.
Oh, my God.
And I'm going to tell you.
Too.
Oh, my God. Yeah, there's not even.
I put it on. I tied it, too.
It's not even the correct knot.
You don't know that. I don't know. It's a double round the loop, whatever.
I've never even saved anybody.
Lamar Jackson, whatever we think about him as a quarterback, what you cannot argue is that Jalen Hurts is on an offense that Lamar Jackson has never even come close to being on. They have 2 very good wide receivers. One's elite. I think Devontae's a little lower than that. He's more of just a very good 2. But they have the best offensive line in the league. They have a very good running game. Lamar Jackson in Philadelphia, if you flip-flop the two, I'm not so sure it's very different. And I think that's where Lamar Jackson's argument is that if I was put in a situation like the Philadelphia Eagles, I could do that too. You haven't put the talent around me. I'm not necessarily saying that's true, but I understand where Lamar Jackson's coming from. The offense is nothing. It's never been anything.
Give him Jerry Rice. Give him Tony Gonzalez. Give him the Bears 85 defense. I don't care. The dude can't throw. He's not.
Well, I saw a stat this last week, and I wish I had it in front of me right now, but maybe you guys would have seen it too, because Big Ben was going viral on Twitter. I don't know
the stat, but I know you're talking about.
And
see if I can find it.
Well, Big Ben was saying the same thing that we always do, and I'm hand up. I'm the same as you guys, talking about how he's not the passer, and I'm not saying he is, but statistically, from the pocket, he has better QBR. And he has a better accuracy and completion percentage than Big Ben did in the same situations.
How many more times has Big Ben thrown the ball from the pocket? I feel like that's a larger sample size.
No. Lamar Jackson last year, people were getting frustrated because it felt like he was trying to prove he can be a pocket passer and wasn't going out of the pocket and being as the playmaker creativity, I guess, that you had seen from him in the past. Again, I'm not arguing that Lamar Jackson is an elite passer, but if he can get wide receivers around him, maybe we'll be able to put it to bed one way or another. Because, again, he's been throwing to Devin Duvernay, to washed Michael Crabtree, to I can't even tell you who else.
This is going to be great for me because either we're going to get the OBJ is actually dog shit, we were wrong people at the end of the season, or we're going to get the Lamar Jackson sucks ass, we finally recognize it people at the end of the season. It's going to be a battle of who has the bigger fan base, and that's going to be the narrative at the end of the season because they both suck, and we're both going to be talking about it 8 months from now, if he even plays. But I'm out on Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts was more comparable to Josh Allen than Lamar Jackson is to Jalen Hurts. It's just... The trajectory between Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, the trajectories are almost exactly the same. Jalen Hurts is just a much more prolific runner or outside the pocket mover than Josh Allen is. Even though Josh Allen's phenomenal running the football as a quarterback, Jalen Hurts is just better at it. They're more comparable between those two than Lamar Jackson is entering that conversation.
But I like the argument you're making, Wally. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can agree. The Eagles have way more around Jalen than Lamar does. But Lamar's not necessarily sitting out there by himself. But at the same time, I think Lamar's running would be fine in that offense. I don't think his passing would sniff Jalen's in that offense.
I also, and Wally, I know what you're going to say is after I mentioned Josh Allen, that both of them got significantly better after getting a number one wide receiver. But also... Mark Andrews is a number one wide receiver in a passing offense. Like, if you put Mark Andrews, swap him and Travis Kelce, and I'll bet you that Mark Andrews puts up very, very similar numbers to Travis Kelce in a passing prolific offense. And we can argue about that all day long. But let's not forget that he's got a wide receiver playing tight end. And just because he doesn't have A.J. Brown or... I don't even know, DeAndre Hopkins or Stephon Diggs outside doesn't mean that he doesn't have a phenomenal target across the middle.
And I agree, he's phenomenal. And he eats a ton of those, I guess, the yard share for the Ravens every year. But what I would argue against that is that tight ends without a number one wide receiver around them too, you don't get the full effect of them either. Where... when you have a number one wide receiver, you're able to take the top off of defense. You're able to put pressure on them outside. Where Mark Andrews, he's a security blanket, sure. But what I was going into this saying is the Ravens are going to take a wide receiver at number 22. And if you even get average number 2 out of OBJ, and you add a Zay Flowers, you add a Jackson Smith and Jigba, a Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson, go on and on and on, with this offensive line and with that backfield, this is as close as we're going to get to figuring it out. And that's why I think it'd be great if you're the Ravens, you want him to play on the franchise tag, because I feel like you'd get a very good idea if it's worth the contract that he wants, because I think this would be the year he has a chance to prove
and apparently
it.
He told Ravens front office that give me Odell and get me DeAndre, then we'll talk. And they're like, we financially can get you one, and it's Odell.
They should have just went after Hopkins instead.
Yeah, could not agree anymore. But I think the way that they signed this Odell Beckham and their lack of urgency for Lamar Jackson, it just seems like, to Wally's point, if it doesn't work out, we're cleaning house, or at least we need a new face of the franchise. With that, let's get down to our rapid fire before we kick you guys out of here for the night. But we do want you to know. Wait. Okay, now I can hear him. We do want you to know this rapid fire segment is brought to you by Abby Turner Creative, your one-stop shop marketing agency specializing in branding, high-end photography, fashion, and more, especially if you're our age, where it feels like there's college graduations, baby pictures, some other stuff going on. You name it, it's happening every weekend. Abby Turner Creative is the only way to go. Check it out for yourself at abbyturnerphoto.com. That's Abby, A-B-B-E-Y. Or on Instagram at Soledad and Sapphire. Again, that's abbyturnerphoto.com. Jeff Okudah traded from the Detroit Lions to the Atlanta Falcons for a 5th-round pick, as well as signing Bud Dupree to a 1-year deal. That is Atlanta I'm speaking about. Falcons are sneakily building a very veteran team on the defensive side of the ball and all around. Wally, what do you think about the Jeff Okudah acquisition?
It makes a ton of sense for Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. I mean, they've had a really solid offseason, to your point. And I think they can hang around in the division, but we have to get something straight. If they don't get better quarterback play from Desmond Ridder, this is a pretender that is ready to go 7-10 or 8-9 again. And by the time these veterans are going to be expiring on the deal, you're going to have to be looking at a new quarterback. So this is a big year for the Falcons. You need Ridder to do well, and I just don't know.
Why aren't they trading up for a quarterback in the draft?
There's rumors that they are.
Here you are. You have been sneaky team building. You've signed Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, who can still play despite being old and a massive human being. Re-signed McGarry.
Not to mention massive human being, massive heart.
I don't know about that.
Anyways,
let's go
Jeff
ahead and get that
Okudah,
checked out.
Jonnu Smith, Eddie Goldman, Taylor Heineke, Scotty Miller, who was a Tom Brady slot target, like favorite slot target for a while. You're going and getting really nice role player pieces that are going to make an impact at each of those positions. Their secondary went from to wow. The defensive line went from to wow. These guys are old veterans, but they're going to make an impact. The team got significantly better defensively. To your point, though, they have to get stability under center, because if they don't, again, to your point, Wally, it's going to be a 7-win team that we're talking about. But if they get stability under center, whether it be Ridder or whether they go, trade the house for a top 3 pick where they can go get a guy, I mean, that team's they're competing for the division. Now, it's a terrible division at that, but you're competing for the division. You're competing for a playoff spot. It's something to be excited about as a Falcons fan.
One thing I wanted to just add on here, I think Jeff Okudah is the guy who needed the scenery change the most. He's going to go to a defense. To David's point, not only they have a star, not a star. I want to go that far. They have a stud in AJ Terrell. He's a good cornerback one there on the opposite side. I know he battled a couple injuries here last year, but he's the number one. You're going to have Jeff Okudah as your number 2, but you're going to have the security blanket of Jesse Bates over top. I think Jeff is slated as long as he's healthy. He only did play 10 games his first 2 seasons, ended up being out there for 15 last year. That kid can stay healthy. He should be slated to have the best year of his career.
Okay, real quick, I know that this is supposed to be fast, but I just want your guys' thoughts, because their linebacker crew leaves a lot to be desired.
You don't need linebackers to win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs proved that.
I don't know.
You need, dude.
You need
No,
average
you don't.
play
You need one guy who can cover a tight end. That's it. And you don't even need him to be great.
Wait, who's theirs?
You don't even need him to be great. You just need one guy who can cover a tight end enough. That's it.
That was a black hole for them last year.
It was a black hole for a lot of teams last year. They still made it. You don't need linebackers. We've proven that. You don't. Linebackers are the second least valuable position on the field behind running back. We've seen that the last couple of years. I mean, the last incredible linebacker to be on a Super Bowl team was that whole David, whatever his name is, on the Bucks, who shut down Travis Kelce.
Levante David and Devin White.
Yeah, I mean, outside of him, I can't remember a great linebacker in the Super Bowl the last 7-8 years.
You said great though. That's the key word.
What about my boy Jordan?
I don't even name an average name today's average linebacker. What does that look like?
Honestly, Kansas City, Nick Bolton would probably.
But they just that's new for them. They won a Super Bowl with the worst linebackers in the NFL. You don't need linebackers.
But those were rookie linebackers too that they didn't have.
Great, go out and draft them in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round. I don't care what they're linebackers to me are just running backs on the other side of the field. You do not need high value players at linebacker. You need, I shouldn't say high value. You don't need big names. You don't need incredible talent at linebacker. You need players you can draft who are going to play hard and maybe one guy who can cover a tight end enough.
Gerald McCoy.
Or you can play nickel. Or if you're going to throw out a secondary, you can do what the Browns do and you can play a shitload of nickel. And you can actually win playing nickel defense.
Oh, yeah, because we know the Browns defense is so good.
And we saw how that worked out. But Gerald McCoy officially retiring from the NFL. Raider great. Really a Buccaneer fan favorite here.
Damn it. You beat me to Raiders.
Yeah, I have to beat you. But stud on the Bucks defensively. Like before the whole Aaron Donald and kind of like when the tail end of when JJ was getting hurt, there was a couple years of just Gerald McCoy. I don't know if it was just me because I was tail end of living in Carolina, so that was the division I got to see the most. Gerald McCoy being on the Bucks. But I mean from 2012 to 17, 6 Pro Bowls. I mean, he had 1 all-team, 2 second teams, 1 first team. I mean, he was awesome. The stats really aren't that crazy. I know we talk about it a lot when like 100 is that sack number. Even as a defensive tackle, there's still some numbers that are a little bit higher than what you're seeing. Like an Ndamukong Suh has like 12 to 13 more sacks than he does. Aaron Donald's already at 100. I think Gerald ends with just slightly under 60, I want to say. Great guy. What was your thoughts on the short time that you had with him, Wally?
Well, he played 1 game and he didn't record a tackle, so he was a Raider legend, all right. Fits right in with the regular part of the defense. I couldn't believe, though, that he never played in the postseason, and he'd been in the league that long. It stunned me. He left right before the Bucks and Tom Brady, which is a damn shame for him.
There you go. You stole that from me. I forgot to add that. Yeah. Right?
Well,
1 more year. You couldn't have given him 1 more year.
I wish. He was a 3rd overall pick, and this is my favorite Gerald McCoy stat, because he's a very good defensive tackle. Nothing probably beyond that, but he made north of $122 million, and this is one of my favorite things because this was before there were rookie deals that were structured in the CBA. So his opening rookie deal was 5 years, $63 million in 2010. Love that for Gerald McCoy.
Yeah, so moving on. Safety Buda Baker requested a trade from the Cardinals. Franchise is just going through it. Total collapse, dumpster fire organization right now. That's about all I got.
Please put in the shots on that one after David says the dumpster fire. The video of the head coach talking to Randall Moore.
Shots.
Hold on.
Please put this conversation at the end of the podcast as we roll out into the fade.
Well, no. They're getting all this live.
No, you're not seeing the video of whoever the Eagles coordinator is as the head coach for the Cardinals when he was like
Jonathan
meeting the
Gannon.
players. Yeah, and he was just being a fucking cheeseball the entire time. He meets Rondale Moore.
I only saw him meet Rondale Moore.
And he goes, shots. You're fast. You run. And then it's like goes on to the next guy. Yeah. So who the hell doesn't want out
I
of that
blacked that
organization?
out of my memory.
Yeah, it came across, and all I saw was right when Buda Baker saw this dude, he had to get the hell out. But I love Buda. Top 5 safety, I would argue. I'd really have to look at it because I'm not that well versed in safety stats. You can make an argue top 3, if not the best safety in the league. But when the dude puts up strong numbers, we all know the DK chase down that he had last year. We all know the injuries that he played through. But you'd be surprised that he actually graded pretty well against the run here last year. And he had a top 5 grade towards the end of the season here before he did get fully injured, battling the injuries this past season. But top 5 with the 80 plus coverage grade as well. So whoever's going to pick this dude up, it's going to be an automatic boost. Some of the teams that are interested, we have the Packers, Bengals, Jags, and I even saw a little bit earlier today the Eagles could be in on the sweepstakes. Packers, Bengals, Eagles, they all make sense. All teams that need safeties, all that have pretty solid, except for the Bengals secondary, just the safety to really push them over the top, I think would help on that side of the ball for the Bengals and the Eagles mostly.
I don't really think that Buda Baker is the same player anymore. I know that you're really high on him. I'm not quite as high, but maybe in the right environment, you're able to unlock a little bit of what you saw from Buda Baker in the past. But the real story here is welcome to Tankville, Glenville, because the Cardinals are going to be so bad the next few years. The way I talked about the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago, and we're talking about them possibly being 7-10, 8-9. That get ready, because that's Arizona the next 3 years. You are gonna suck, and they're gonna. I told you guys off air, I don't think Kyler Murray ever plays another down for the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that we are really getting ready to open up this new world where the Cardinals just embrace winning 8 total games in the next 3 years. Goodbye, First Energy Stadium, David. Welcome back, Cleveland's Brown Stadium, at least for the time being. I want to know, first of all, from you, if they do end up doing these renovations and have to go elsewhere, where would you imagine the team would play in an interim period of time?
I have no idea. I don't. There's nowhere functionally close that makes sense. It's not going to be John Carroll. It's not going to be Baldwin Wallace. It's not going to be the Berea facility. I mean, I guess it could be the Berea facility if they were to put up a boatload of stands. But there's no functional stadium close by. I don't know what Mount Union looks like.
Just play in the Muni lot.
Well,
just line up, play there.
Hell yeah,
the whole stadium is useful, but can't you only fit like 20,000 there? Or something.
Maybe a little
it's
bit
effectively
more.
A high school stadium.
Right. It's probably there. If we're being honest, it's probably there. It is that would probably be where they played. Ohio State's the only top tier option for them that's close by, but I don't know.
What about Akron? It just hit me.
InfoCision. That's actually an interesting. I didn't even think about that. iPad.
It just hit me.
This might be
InfoCision's actually a large stadium. That's like a 40,000 person stadium. I think that's interesting.
What is it called?
That InfoCision. INFO.
R.I.P. Rubber Bowl.
Yeah, no. Actually, the Akron football stadium is. Thomas Height and I make fun of it for being the most unused piece of land in.
Because they made it massive after Charlie Fry came.
Yeah, it was huge. It is massive. That's a really interesting. That's a good point. Way to bring that up.
Capacity there is 30,000.
Accidentally came up because of you. So
30,000.
30,000 is what it has
still.
here.
I honestly, that's more than
Detroit
you're getting anywhere close by.
I mean, look at what happened out in L.A. a few years ago with that soccer stadium. They had 25 or 26,000, I want to say.
And honestly,
why not Detroit?
You're not playing at Ford Field with Detroit. You're just not. They're not going to do a duel.
Why if I'm the Fords?
Toledo.
Why would I agree to that?
How big's Toledo Stadium?
I mean, again, you're playing in Northwest Ohio. Why would you do that?
You're just not. Akron actually makes a lot of sense. That Akron Stadium makes a boatload of sense in InfoCision, even though they're not getting their max capacity. You're never not going to sell out a game there. So it plays a little bit if you're going to spend the money renovating. That does make a lot of sense. At the end of the day, they
Toledo's
probably work out a
8,000.
deal with Ohio State. Jesus.
Well, Steven, I know that you had some name ideas that you wanted to throw out here for a fake new name. I say fake. That's not even fair. You say it well enough. You get it a good enough name here. Maybe we can get some traction. So what were your ideas for the new stadium name?
We have new stadiums. Apparently, they're coming out with a new dog logo too. I don't know if it's just the Browns. Twitter was just kind of.
Don't they do that every 3
Buddy,
years?
they're gonna release a new fucking shade of orange for that logo, like they did 5 years ago.
I forgot.
David, shut up. You love
Pantone
orange.
change.
You love it.
That's
Well,
it.
it was
I do
Pantone
love orange.
change.
It was so. That was the most hyped up. We're gonna change the logo. We're gonna do this. Blah blah blah. They fucking released it. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a lighter
They
shade
added
of.
just a little bit of red.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it was so bad.
It was
Anyways,
burgundy.
continue. Give me
All
your
right.
names, and I'm gonna
So
tell
we
you
ne-
why it's not gonna be those.
God, thank you for being extremely open-minded right off the rip, David. But why is there not a dog pun for this stadium? The dog house? Okay, that one's a little bit easy. What about Cujo's?
Well, I mean, you have the dog pound, I guess.
But yeah, see, that's a subsidiary of the stadium, right? You keep the dog
Fair,
pound,
fair.
right? Maybe you should get a section where, I don't know. There's definitely be a section next to the dog pound where like they euthanize all the really bad fans. Cujo's playpen. That one's just a little bit aggressive. The hydrant. I kind of like that one.
Ooh, the hydrant's kind of fun.
A Browns Park, almost like a dog park. It's like, hey, we're just gonna go up to Browns Park. All right, this one has to be it. The Boneyard.
Oh, that's good. I kind of like
The Boneyard. David, I know you can't have any
why
ones
none
above
of
the
those
Boneyard.
are going to happen because they
I
don't
have an
generate revenue. It's going to be the Bally Sports.
Just like the
Arena.
fucking Browns.
It's going to be the Bally Sports Stadium. Or
The
whatever
Boneyard Bally
fucking
Sports.
Bullshit is that? No.
The Bally Sports
Like, it
Boneyard
should be a
on
nickname.
Cleveland Boulevard.
Well, like, you know how I know it was more like the dog pound, like the black hole was a section of the Raiders, but like it was kind of like known as the black hole. It can be Bally Sports Arena, the Boneyard, when you call it like a short name.
Bally's Boneyard.
Ooh, the North Pole, and you keep Brownie the Elf on there the whole time.
Look, love your creativity. Godspeed.
I really thought I hit it with the Boneyard. I'm really I'm kind of upset.
You got
Bad.
I
Look,
think
they're
the
not
hydrant's
bad.
my
I'm
favorite.
just telling you it's never going to happen.
Well,
I'm a big hydrant
to
fan.
be honest with you, why doesn't I'm surprised like maybe Hollywood or the Jack up there doesn't take in. It just be called the Jack, or they're jacking off. With that, it's going to bring us to an end of another episode of Loss of Down. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages at Loss of Down, and make sure to retweet us at down_lost there on Twitter. Shout out to our sponsors, Tabbies.com, as well as Abby Turner Creative. We might be losing a couple of them after that joke I just made. But boys, any parting words for the fans?
Couple things real quick. One, I already mentioned at the top of the show. Keep your eye out next week. Our big mock draft show. It's going to be awesome. There will be a video out like for the full episode as well on top of our audio. So keep your eye open for that. May have 2 shows next week. We'll obviously have our Monday show and then the mock draft I mentioned, but I won't be there. I'll be at the draft, as you guys at home know. If David and Steven have time, maybe they do a show. If not, we will see you the following Monday. My only thoughts for you, or question for you guys, because we didn't get it at the top of the show, can you give me your NBA championship? East, West, who we got coming out? What do we have?
Man, I don't really know. I'm gonna bet with my heart on this, so I'm gonna take the Kings out of the West. I just love the Kings, the energy that they have. Demonis Sabonis has won me some money this
Like the
past
Beam.
year. Like the Beam. I like De'Aaron Fox. I just like the energy they have there. And the Cleveland legend is their coach, Mike. Why am I blanking on him right now?
Mike Brown. He's probably still getting paid by the Cavs from his first time before he was fired.
Yeah, the second
might not be
tenure
right.
hasn't kicked in yet. And on the East, give me I'll stick it with my love. Give me my boy Jason Tatum and the Celtics. Those are really the 2 guys and teams I bet on a lot. So let's keep it going because I like to continue to bet on you.
So then, are you going like the Beam, or are you going with Boston?
Boston
to win it all.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm gonna go with the Celtics to win it on this one. I just like what they're doing.
All right, David,
Jason
how about you?
Tatum's a
Who's your
stud.
championship?
Watch out for Jaylen Brown.
Tough scenes all around. Honestly, I'm not super confident in the West. I think if I would go Milwaukee coming out of the East if Giannis didn't just get hurt.
How bad is that? I haven't.
I don't
seen
think
it.
it's
Is he gonna be
super
able to play?
bad, but I don't love it. It's
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
sure.
love it. It's like he is the team, and they have a great supporting cast, but he is the team. It would be like if LeBron got hurt early on, like I would start doubting whether anyone could go far with those Cavs teams. But
you could tell the second he got off
I-
the court yesterday, the energy was so bad for the Bucks.
Yeah, they would have been my pick had I not seen him get hurt, but I actually think I'd bet the Sixers right now out of the East, and I don't even like the Sixers. I think it's a bad bet to actually lay money down on, but for some reason, it just feels like their year, in a year where we're not really sure who's going to come out of the East. They feel like
Josh
they can.
Harris group, stay hot.
Well, they feel like they can get lucky, come out, and then honestly, I think they'd get blown out by whoever comes out of the West. But again, it just feels like this is a really good parity year for the NBA, and for that reason, I'd pick a good team like the Nuggets to come out of the West. Like, they've been great for the last couple of years, but they've always been overshadowed by like a super squad that just demolishes them. This is a year where there's not really some like super squad who I think is going to wipe the floor with them. So I'll take the good team play out of the West in the Nuggets.
I know nothing about basketball, but I would want, if I could will something to happen, how fun would it be for the Lakers to play the Cavs? With LeBron going back, I think that would be awesome, but it won't happen.
That would be such an interesting dynamic for Cavs home games. It would be such an interesting dynamic.
Is it like
you can't really
the way
do
it was when he was with the
LeBron.
Heat?
Yeah, but you can't do that. Like, it's a different. Nobody hates LeBron here anymore, unless you're a Jordan homer who just would jerk him off right in your face. But nobody hates LeBron. It'd be an interesting dynamic. I do think the Lakers are a sneaky team to go a little bit further than everyone expects. But
is AD okay? I thought I heard.
Fuck AD. It's all about my man Austin Reeves.
As always.
It's all about AR.
Well,
AR
the
15.
The Lakers' midseason trade that sent Russell Westbrook packing gave them a shitload of role players that actually make a difference, and that's who LeBron needs around him to make a trip far into the playoffs. But I think they're an interesting team to make it a little further than people expect. I wouldn't bet on them getting to the finals. I don't think they're fully there yet.
They're hot though. They are. I'd have to look at their records,
True.
but they have got to be one of the hottest teams in the league. I think they started like 2-10, and ended with like 42, and like a respectable number. I think they ended up with like 4 or 5 games above 500, but they didn't have LeBron, and they just kept winning with their role players and AD. Then you just add LeBron and these players, and LeBron's a type of player that isn't going to, once he comes back, everything's dead. He's like, shit, okay, let me keep facilitating here. So they're going to be fun. Also, LeBron James over rebounds every single night, 8.5. Dude averages like 11. Yeah, if you're going to sprinkle the double-double. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is out, put your life on Bobby Portis.
Look at that pronunciation. I love it.
Put your life on Bobby Portis, points and rebounds over every single night. The dude is a stud. 6-man, potentially the 6th man of the year. But he gets a ton of playing time once. I mean, hell, I think he had 20 minutes yesterday and put up like 17 and 8.
My only thing I'll say is my NHL pick, the one that matters for me, going really chalky this year. Best regular season of all time team, Boston Bruins, are going to beat Connor McDavid, the best hockey player on earth right now, and it's not close, in the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
No, this is the first playoffs, the NHL playoffs, that they want Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin in there. So just wanted to kind of throw some salt in the wound. At least Ovechkin's not in.
No, it doesn't even really hurt, because if the Penguins got in, they would have been mercy killed by the Boston Bruins.
Okay, so it's kind of
like we're talking like outscored 24-2 in 4 games, kind of bad.
Yeah.
So happy it didn't happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's go watch some playoff sports. Let's get a little gambling going here.
Let's go, boys.